now we're back after paying bills, which is very important. One Niger Senate Assembly is back on air, and then we're doing the duty, we're doing the due. Talk to the people, develop our society, talk that will influence society. That's what we're here to do. With senators representing various constituencies. We'll have a guest here in studio, Dr. Kingsley Mifler, is with us this morning. We're talking about JAMB. And then the failure, massive failure, unprecedented this year by our children. The Federal Ministry of Education giving a reason why that failure was immense, why it was necessary, that we should see our children fail without cheats. And then Dr. Mifler cancelled that reason, saying it's not viable enough, it's not potent enough to be sustained. Our children. Now we let's develop the idea of building a curriculum that reflects Nigerian reality. We don't have that in our institution. I think when we left school, when we started seeing just 107 or one entrepreneurship, blah blah, but we know we have large gap in unemployment rate in Nigeria. We do not train students to be self-reliant. We want to tell them that, be an engineer and all will be well. You graduate from school, you are not engineering, and you are doing something else. You're doing POS. I mean, an engineer that went through the 4 walls of the University of Tertiary Education for 5 years and come out and start doing something else. So we let the curriculum reflect our realities. Now we go to school and we learn history, and then the history is telling us about not Osman Danfodio. It's telling us about how Mongoba crossed the river to discover a river in Nigeria. Where were the people who were fishing in that river and all of that? So don't you think that the structure in itself had positioned the children to fail before it started?
I don't think so. Yes, I think that, like as I was saying, that we are in a global village. And because we're in a global village, you must design your curriculum to the extent that to fit into the global market. Now, if you are a Nigerian and you are supposed to sit for an exam where somebody from Britain is also supposed to sit in an exam, would you get there and begin to give excuse because of your curriculum? You wouldn't do that. Okay, so if you do that, it means it is a failure to the school that brought you to that place. And so what every school tries to do is to see how they mend these curriculums, bring in the local content and also bring in this international content to design the curriculum such that when you go out here to compete with others, you compete favorably. For example, if you go to most of these private primary and secondary schools, most of these bigger private primary and secondary schools in Port Harcourt and of course in Nigeria, you see the way their curriculums are designed so that they can sit in most of these IOFSL, those international examinations. They sit for those examinations conveniently, competing with others from different countries. Why? Because those curriculums are designed to the extent that it is like the same thing what they have outside here. But when you go to some of these other local ones who do not have any interest in designing such kind of curriculum, you see the performance of those students, and they can't compete. They can't go for any competition anywhere outside the environment where they construct themselves. Now, in the universities have designed their curriculum such that they can also compete favorably. For some time now, a product of the University of Science and former University of Science, which is now University, have been competing favorably in the area of research and been coming up top globally. Today we have
that's really
no, but it is because
I'm also involved in employing people.
Yeah, you told me the story.
You told me the story. When students who graduate as mass communication students, English students cannot put up one common correct sentence.
It is 1 in 10 that one couldn't get that right. Doesn't mean others cannot get it right. Even in the midst of these bigger schools that they charge millions and 2 million and all that, you could still get some students who cannot compete anywhere. I have met a lot of them. Some too attended local universities and they compete everywhere. Today we'll have a vice chancellor in Rivers University who has been a brand to even University before he became a vice chancellor. He never schooled outside this country. All his they are doing from professionals, university, and all that. But it's a brand anywhere you present it.
Okay, so the senator representing the job international. That's the main outreach of people.
Well, Senate President, I think say you won't leave me from 7:30 to 8:30. Well, you are incredible.
Yeah.
It's all.
Yeah.
It's all in the new. New. Well, Senate President too much for this matter. You know, funny, this thing na the entire system. To be honest with you, na the entire system we need to work on. You understand? It's not just about the children. We have a country where cost of living now dey fight the living. An average person no even fit feed. You don't get nothing like middle class again. Now upper class and the poorest of the poor. You understand? So the interest for education no be die.
Okay.
That's the first thing.
From both ends.
From both ends, interest for education, because you dey see where your elder brother wey don graduate, dem dey like 7 for us, no work. This thing na the time giving you street credibility, no be grammar. You understand me? I see a situation for Ogunabali, one woman carry her pikin go meet Yahoo boys wey dem teach her HK. You can imagine how the mentality of things dey now for street. I no dey tell you grammar, I dey give you street, because this woman don see say all the secondary school children dem wey dey do HK dey cash out. Meanwhile, 3 of our children wey don graduate for us no work. Na the kind economy wey you find yourself. So it boils down from the government not providing jobs.
It's not just about the economy. It boils down to working society. Because
Exactly.
there are people who are not are jobless but choose not to buy the economy.
Exactly. I dey go there. It's not like I'm supporting crime. I'm only giving you the reality of ground. You get. You know, say for this program, we always talk as it be. That na one side. Then number 2, people dey beg I mean I preach am say the entire Nigerian system we dey work on a brainwash formula. People down to the Bible. That I'm not going to where you were saying we go back on to discover River Niger. Do you know that in the curriculum in the secondary school today they draw cockroach? Something will not get benefit for you, like you don't get anything to benefit you. Whereas people will teach us how to draw cockroach now, then they farm cockroach. There's a difference. They farm it, extract some things, do buy weapon, sell some things for benefit, for health and all that. They don't reach that level. We still they draw cockroach. You understand? They still they ask you what is a noun. Something will say an average Oyibo pikin as a born and he know. You don't need to even teach am. Because na lingua is part of his DNA and all that. So the whole thing that systemic wahala. You understand? It's not be saying Nigerians no dey compete with global standards. Nigerians dey very brilliant because even our level of my guy wey dey UK, everything they tell me like if I just call am the data half I had the children say that dey house. Wetin happen dem no go school say no be that na type one na dey do. Yeah, if dem learn 1 hour they dey play 6 hours. You understand? So the average Oyibo man said no dey even stress the children brain too much. That is why you go see say when Nigerians travel go there, when the system balance, the economy fair, light dey, water dey, you no dey think of anything, food no be your problem, they dey do very well. You get the point? So na so the entire system dey. So our government need to sink in money for education, sink in money for the economy, make things balance. Why I dey talk so is that you cannot be running a country where you dey see say Aso Rock budget big pass full budget of education times 2. Then you come dey complain say jam people do poor. Of which they see say even if they do well, there is no work for front.
Before we pass off things to the government, we'll also talk about parents and how they are not properly nurturing the children of nowadays. I remember that when there was a reward system in place in the 80s. If you come tops of the class, and then they say, "Oh, today we'll buy you agidi, we'll buy you ice cream," and we do not have. Maybe we've lost that, and then the quest, that zeal to educate yourself. In our time, we say, "Oh, well, as not to live as a geologist, a shell, algae, and all of them." You see a bleak hope that if you leave school, you're not going into ventures higher. Like you said. You see people who did not try, people who just sat at home and they press their computers and they're home, they're making money, they're buying cars, your mates. And so all of that really dragged the morale of our children down. These people. gather around. Tell your neighbors we're here to talk the business of development, talk the business of Nigeria, talk the business of what remolding society. Very important. For those who are tuned in for the first time, it happens weekdays, Mondays through Friday, 7:30 till about 9:30, sometimes 9, depending on how the school leads, every morning. Weekdays, Mondays. Now, we're concerned. We were concerned about the mass failure of our students, of our children, of our words. The just concluded Joint Admission and Matriculation Board examination JAM in Nigeria. About 78% couldn't cross the 200 threshold. That's the mark for to say I've passed over 400. That's 200, that's half of the mark. To say 50%, and did a C was troubling. The Ministry of Education came out to tell us, hey, it was due to some strict measures by the ministry. We introduced CBT, and that's computer-based tests, and therefore it's giving troubles. And then there were stricter measures, security, to make sure that nobody cheats. Senator Husband Material has posited that it is due to the low urge for education, because people who are barely educated are making it in life because they indulge in illicit activities. The one we call Yahoo, make money. The innocent ones see these things and it demoralizes them, and they are attracted like a magnet to doing the wrong. That is really contributed. Dr. Gets definitely hard here posited that JAM and Ministry of Education are not right, they're wrong for saying that they put in measure that it wasn't up to measures, it wasn't down to measure. It was down to examination centers and time wrongly fixed. Somebody who resides in Port Harcourt was moved to Obibo, and sometimes Akoda East, and then examination set at 6:30 in the morning. Disoriented as you are, you walk into the examination hall and you lose control. It could be that because this is not the first time we use CBT in our examinations. Last year we used it, the year before, and it wasn't this bad. So there must be something that we had triggered that wasn't supposed to be. Let's move away from that and face some other issues ticking us in the face. The House of Representatives, that's the National Assembly. Again, I said our heart goes out to our brothers and sisters that were killed in Plateau State yesterday. Scores of Nigerians killed, 6 of them in Plateau community. They were suspected to be killed by Fulani militants. That's a new nomenclature. Well, I'm used to Fulani herdsmen. Now we're hearing Fulani militants. But let's look at what's going on in the country because of that, the insecurity. The House of Representatives told the president that Nigerians will vote if action is not taken. The House of Representatives yesterday wants some citizens to vote if the federal government fails to address the insecurity in the country, which has been on the upswing in the last few weeks. I was discussing with somebody yesterday, and the person said, we have reached a level where what happened in Algeria might happen in Nigeria. And somebody immediately retorted, somebody responded, I mean, what happened in Algeria, it's not half of what's happening in Nigeria. We wake up in the morning, we hear that the full community was swept aside by bloodthirsty militants or herdsmen. And then this is not a one-off. It keeps happening regularly. That if we were in some other countries, like Libya, like Egypt, that something unprecedented might have happened. And I'm saying, are our National Assembly, Dr. Kingsley, are they detached from reality? When they say it might, because if you look at what's happening, it's very dark. You talk about Natasha. These are entities that humans that stood up against the system. Nigerians seem to have gotten to a level where everything that opposes the government appeals to them. And that's a recipe for disaster, if you ask me, as a Nigerian. Some Nigerians are saying this National Assembly, the people in high ups, are totally detached from reality. we've reached the point where we should revolt, but we have the Nigerian can do spirit. Maybe we're resilient to a fault to say, even if you push us to the wall, we'll break the wall and move over to the other side and expect you to continue to push us, and then nothing will happen. Are we sitting on the king of powder? No.
Yes, truly, we are sitting on the cake of powder. But then, you raised two examples called Natasha and called the very dark man. When we talk about the very dark man, I will agree with you. But when we talk about Natasha, I will say it's completely politics. The issue of Natasha is completely politics. I don't like taking issues from one side. That's me. So each time any issue crops up, I look at it from two sides. So when you get the two sides of these issues, you're able to give your narrative.
You call it politics.
It's complete politics.
Do you see the number of Nigerians that support it?
Forget about that support. The support is coming because, let me tell you, it's because of the what is happening in the system, in the politics.
Exactly.
Yeah, you know. But when you talk about her issue,
that's not what
her issue.
What I'm talking about is how Nigerians are willing to support somebody who, whether right or wrong, stands against.
Now we should begin to support things right, not wrong, because of our own interest. That you are dismayed, that is disgruntled, disenchanted because of what is happening in the politics or what the government is doing, doesn't not mean that anyone who raises any issue against the government you support without looking at the exact issue or what has actually caused that matter. Okay? If you talk about the very dark matter, good, very, very, very excellent. But this issue of Natasha, we can put up a day to discuss this matter. And I'll tell you all I know about this matter. Natasha is merely playing politics. It's as simple as that. But in the issue of Nigeria, I think that the National Assembly, especially the House of Reps, that raised this issue, they are not truthful to themselves.
How?
Because they have a role to play. They are part of the government. They should play a role. Why are they there? They are there to make laws. Now, if they see that the executive is not doing what they should do, are they supposed to just sit there idly? They are sent there as representatives of the people. And for that reason, they are to make laws that will benefit the people.
Are they not making the laws?
The laws they are making are the ones that will favor them. If you make a law, because the responsibility of the government that they swore an oath, the first thing is to protect lives and property. And so if the government has failed in that responsibility, what is the National Assembly doing? They are there to checkmate the executive. They should make laws to checkmate the executive. The executive should not be failing and they sit idly. When it comes to their own matter, they can move a motion immediately and pass it immediately because that one will favor them. But when it comes to the people that they have said they are representing, they sit idly. Perhaps when the people are complaining to an extent, they just make warnings. They give warnings to the executive. They're not doing anything as far as I'm concerned. They should rise up to their responsibility. Make laws to checkmate the executive. If the executive cannot protect the people, then you should give up.
All right. Quickly, what I said, we hear where communities are raised. People have to talk. People are there. And then the federal government will send troops to these communities to restore law and order. We've seen that happen so many times. The president will summon up security chiefs. What happened? Every year we see 20% of the year's budget go to defense. And it speaks to how important defense is. And a lot of money, but yet, every day we keep hearing that in Benue State, community destroyed houses, people died. Is government supposed to do more than it's doing now, other than deploying money to critical areas and making sure it deploys personnel at the moment? Call security chief, send in more soldiers, send in more efforts, planes, send in more naval people into the NCDC, Nigerian police to quell this. Are they supposed to do more? Is this government not doing enough to warrant Nigerians to be fought?
Well, to be honest, Nigeria are never serious with security. Because here, you cannot be every time you want to react when something happen, when you in fact you can be proactive. We don talk am here before. You say one of your agenda as the president employ 50 million youth. Job description dey for those people o, make dem just man the border. Na the first problem be that. They should man the border. If you fit fence the country, fence am. If you no fit, man the border. Because the excuse every day they dey give be say most of these Fulani herdsmen wey dey enter, they dey come in from Niger, from Cameroon, from Mali. Na the excuse they dey give, you understand? So see this thing wey we dey talk, we just dey talk am because we dey here. Thank God say you no dey north o. They say some village for north, full village, full community, herdsmen don take over. Wow. Yes. Just if you think say a joke, visit Very Dark Man page with video evidence because he dey go on ground, he no dey just sit on top. You go see how he go travel, he go enter the town, people this boko, all those ones wey happen, you go see how we video like this. He dey show you say this full community like this, they dey tell you say no near there now na herdsmen their camp. Meanwhile, you elect the president wey dey in charge of life and property, securing people life and property. You no dey do the work. They just dey share that security money. Baba, this program will always talk with you. They no dey do the work. These people no care. And to be honest with you, the wetin dey happen for this Nigeria, these politicians they don lose touch. With reality, the difference between the politicians and the masses dey like this. Before there used to be like a middle class. You understand where they balance things, where them say they look up. But now they don't know. They don't know anything they happen. They say these politicians are really they don't care. They don't even care about them. They don't care. You know here where this Senate president go talk. Say poverty now it will be the will of God for the person. Other countries in this 21st century they try to make sure say you dey see the indices, yes. They dey pull people, see China, everywhere they pull the crowd, the masses come up from poverty. This one, you get someone who don relax there, they tell you say poverty is the will of God for you for your life. You no wan do anything. They no wan do anything. They just dey they can't after the 4 years, they bring in another set of people. After the 4 years, they bring in. See, if we get good leadership, the kind resources wey Nigeria get, we no suppose to get issue. We no suppose to get security issue.
I think also to a level where we begin to talk that involves a revolution.
Wetin future be say as they got to the level. As we dey talk now, e don dey build up. For Very Dark Man wey dem carry, it's building up. Even House of Rep fear yesterday, tell EFCC to release am because you cannot arrest somebody 5 days. Today is making day 6. You never bring out wetin the person do. Rather, each press statement you give, you dey delete am, post another one, delete am. You even no know who you arrest. You dey call am innocent. His name is Martins Vincent Fosse. You dey call am Martins innocent. You understand? You don't even know who you arrest. That to tell you how strong they really want with Trump. The only voice wey that guy just be like the only light for this country. He help so they help police. There is a policeman for him page for the video. They wrongfully sack that man. Now, Very Dark Man go help that man. They try to retrieve intention and gratuity. Police, so this is a country where you dey here, one kid always something happen to you. I tell you now, my house help me with my money, everything. I go to my brother, I buy fuel tire. When you buy fuel, let's go and see if you can get a neighbor at colleague. You go buy fuel that day, and I go there, no day house there, come on. You go the next day, you buy fuel. So then I mean, put my lift the money and everything. Make I take am because I dey spend more. To fit recover my thing, I dey spend more. Now the kind policing system we get. And this Very Dark Man is the only person you can go to online, you will get justice. Because he no dey fear, he go call out anybody and he no dey take bribe, nothing. They want to withdraw that. So the build up, according to you, don't already start. If you look in Port Harcourt here, they match yesterday. Really? Yes. You know how people the video there, if you want, I'll send for you. In my page, or I post close to 15 videos of this issue here. You understand? They match for Port Harcourt. This thing did not happen in Port Harcourt, but they match. Benin they match since from day first day they run the match. It's not people don't tire. People don't, if you hear the complaints, you go know say people they even shout say this thing should not be only released Very Dark Man again. Make we restart this country.
But again, we not find all of these arguments as Nigerians. Here's that make me could be the council the local government chairman. Then I meet him. I said, okay, my wife, the hospital, you want to deliver? Yes, the 1,500,000. And then if the judge tells me that these are money meant for projects to build roads, I will go out and start cursing. I will insult him. And then they see this thing. If it comes to his mother's occasion, and maybe he gives his little man, you will insult for not doing like Cosby is doing, for not doing like Otto Matera is doing. So are we not finding this misnomer in our society?
We are. To be honest with you, the masses follow for the problem. But the masses they only act like this because of wetin they don't know say these politicians dey collect. See, this system no dey normal. I must be honest with you. You go see a man go school, no, become a professor. Annually, he's not proud of 25 billion. But that thing na wetin one house of rep member dey collect in a month, 27 point something million. So is that normal? A professor, person wey go school, a doctor, dey back knowledge to society. You no go fit boast of 24 million annually, and then they talk of 1 month. But na wetin a house of rep member dey collect with allowance go for 1 month. 24 months is to 1 month. So the people don't know say they collect our resources. That's why you see say they also tell them like that. If you come as a leader, you do what you supposed to. You provide the hospital, basic amenity, free healthcare and all those things. That man no go even need to come back and say he don't want to do operation because the system is already in place.
It's happening in Nigeria. The rate of insecurity, how Nigerians are lamenting. House of Representatives is saying if action is not taken, the Nigerians might be forced. You see what happened the 2020 NSAS protest. You see what happened when the Kenyans came out to protest. You see what happened in Sri Lanka. It happens in Venezuela. It happened in Venezuela. We don't want that to happen in Nigeria. And the one in Venezuela, we saw people who invaded the presidential guard palace and were chilling in the swimming pool. So when I saw that picture, well, please let's begin to conclude this conversation, Dr. Kingsley. Do we have can the government turn this around? I mean, is that something they're not doing that they need to do, and then get back the confidence Nigerians but lost in them? You say guidelines on property, that's one. Turn around cost of living, bring down the inflation rates in the country. Is that something Tinubu is doing that Tinubu is not doing that he should do?
Yeah, a lot. But the challenge we have in Nigeria is that politicians are very selfish. They are only concerned about their own interests. Other than that, they are not interested. If you have politicians who are interested in the people, that the reason for which you come to power is to serve, you won't be much interested in your personal gain. And in that, you want to dispense whatever opportunity you have to save the people and make life very comfortable for the people. Well, every politician who, by virtue of opportunity, sees himself in an office wants to get a second term. And of course, getting a second term has a lot of things to go with it. For example, if you're a president, you want to go for a second term. A lot of things you need to do. Today, you see our president is working assiduously. You see how if you get all the votes you can get in the south, taking to the fact that there is a kind of force or pressures against him from the north. So he is seeing danger, looming danger from the north. So he's doing everything to see how he can garner all the votes he can get from the south and now use it to face the north. And with that, you see that it will be difficult for him to do anything that will tantamount to getting those votes in the north. For example, what stops the presidency? We've been talking about ranching for so many years. What stops the presidency to stand by that decision and say every cattle rearer should go to ranch? If you go to do ranching, it stops people moving their cattle from one place to the other. And that also means that they won't have this opportunity to be going into people's farms and all that.
And then the problem between herders and farmers.
Yeah, it will reduce this herders and farmers crisis. And so there are a lot of things the government can do. When we talk about the monetary, the fiscal policies of the government, we know that the president in that area has been trying his best. I can't say that he's not trying. But
right?
Yes, he is. Most of the policies they are bringing on board now are to an extent helping, but they need to
still figure inflation.
no, because before the president came in power, we were astronomically to a point where we couldn't even help ourselves.
Well,
We can't even pay. We can't even pay salaries. We are borrowing to pay salaries before this president came
the
in.
president told us not to take it here.
No, yes, he said that he did not. He decided.
He knows what he's coming
Good,
into.
but of course, you know that governance is not a one-step thing. It needs time, and this time, these policies are not things that people overcome overnight. It's a gradual process, and if we can give him that, and the thing is that Nigerians are dying, and so when you are desperate for living,
I'm just looking at you. You know this inflation came
no, it's high. But then,
rose to this all-time high. What is this inflation?
yeah, but if you look at the inflationary rate, you see that it is also going down gradually. If you look at what it was, especially mid last year, to what it is now,
Still within that.
no, it is.
Still within the period.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The president actually made an assumption of office. The declaration of subsidy on the point he assumed office was a wrong decision.
The president
Yes, it was right
He hasn't agreed.
to remove subsidy.
He hasn't agreed.
He will not agree because, of course, you know the leaders. Even the Bible tells us where a king is, the word of the king is power. Kings are handling the retrieving of their words. He will say he has made a mistake. But the truth is that he should have done that after some time. Give Nigerians time after they have assumed of this. Prepare the minds of people before you do that. But doing that almost at the point he has not even made this declarative statement. He made that statement. That actually was the push that we had, and it discredited almost every sphere of the economy. And that was wrong. Even though every Nigerian had expected that should be done, that shouldn't have been done at a point. It was also trying to now, handle that matter becomes a problem. So it's what they're just trying managing gradually. And I think Nigerians are not patient people. Of course, you too, when you at the point you get to in life, becoming patient is a problem. So it's an issue. But I think that we can manage it. With time, it will get better. But where I think that we have a major problem is the security of this country. The government, for me, is not doing enough. For me, they're not doing enough. What happens to the airstrikes that we have in this country? What happens to the surveillance that our security used to be boasting of? What happens to it? Is it difficult to also man the little land mass in the what's it called? The Middle Belt? Middle Belt is not as large as the Boko Haram area is. It's a very small area that our security can contain. What happens to it? Is it that there are things they've not told us that we should know?
Is somebody benefiting from
That's exactly what I'm saying. Exactly, it calls for questioning. We need to think about this. Nigerians are dying every day. Those of us who are here may not understand what people are suffering. There are places, even our politicians, most of them do not go to their villages. People like Ali Ndume in the Senate cries almost every day because he hardly goes to his village. He can't go. In the East here, there are some people that can't come home without over 10 troops of security and all that. Why is it like that? What is happening to our security? What's happening? I think the president has to answer these questions. And for him to answer these questions, the National Assembly to put him in his tools.
All right, Senator Husband Material, let's get your closing statements on these issues. First, we'll talk about JAMB and how our children are not interested in throwing the path of education. And then we'll talk about insecurity. National Assembly saying Nigerians might revolt if we do not act. Go on.
Okay, firstly, on the issue of JAMB and education, it's simple. The government should try as much as possible to pump in more money in education and pay attention to these things. They should bring back the old style whereby they reward excellence. They should bring back the old style whereby even before people graduate, they are already in the school to pick the best grades and develop them, employ them, and send them for training and all that. That's simple. It works for us. Even there was a testimony of one of the survivors, 92 years recently online, that was telling us that they even used to pay them to go to school. Aside their tuition fee, their scholarship and everything, they gave them tips. You understand? To go to school, more like pocket money. So they should bring back that old system Now, after that, concerning security, it's also simple. They should stop sharing the, how do I call it, the security money and put it to work. It is the president that said with his own mouth that he will employ 50 million youth. If he doesn't know where to put them, at least equip them and send them to secure our borders. It's a good start, you understand? Let's make sure that they man the borders and make things okay. That's for security.
Session on the One Niger Senate Assembly will adjourn to tomorrow. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are not in favor say nay. The ayes have it. Tomorrow is another day.